Right. So we'll do quick introductions. And if you want to just introduce yourselves and let us know what it is you're working on at the minute. And then we can have a chat about what we've been up to over the last month, over the last couple of months, or if there's any projects that we're currently working on that you desperately want somebody else's eyes on or some feedback for or something like that, then please feel free to bring that up as well. Not promising that we can do anything, but sometimes it's nice to have that sort of wider opinion on things and and the ideas that you're working on at the minute that you're wondering whether will work. Maybe somebody else might have done them already and tried them out in a different area. So that's always useful too. So I'll start. I'm Laura from Walk Knots. We've just had a fantastic Walk Knots walking festival, which has been throughout the whole of the month of May, and we've never done that before. So it's been a bit of a sharp learning curve. We've been incredibly busy over the last month, more busy than we ever expected to be. And it's been quite a fantastic month. Georgina, do you want to come in next?
Yeah, hi everybody, I'm Georgina and I work for SASP in Somerset, and my role is looking after health walks across county. And like yourself, Laura, we've just literally finished National Walking Month. And I'm always so pleased that we have a walking month, because a lot of the things we raise awareness of, there might be a day or something, but to have a whole month dedicated to all things walking is just fantastic. And yeah, absolutely extremely busy. And straight into volunteer week. So there's no let up. National Walking Month, and now a whole week celebrating all our volunteers. So this is a rare day I'm working from home, the only day this week. I'm out training this week and out thanking up. We thank them all year round, of course we do, but a real focus this week on our volunteers.
That's absolutely awesome to hear. Do you want to pick who comes in next?
Oh, okay. I'm interested in Ramblers Wellbeing Walk, so I'll choose Will.
Thanks, Georgina. I feel honoured you've chosen me. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. So I'm the programme lead for Ramblers Wellbeing Walks, which is the Ramblers national programme around short group walks, born out of what used to be the Health Walks programme, previously with Walking for Health and through various guises of Natural England, Macmillan Cancer Research, and then and the Ramblers, of course, and then taken into 2021 as the Ramblers Wellbeing Walk. So we deliver partnership programs across England and Wales. There are now 160 partners of varying different organisations working across England and Wales, from active partners to national partnerships, but also really small community volunteer groups as well. So we're really focusing in on short group walks, anywhere from 10 minutes, with a focus on delivering it to those that need it the most, have the most barriers to getting out walking, and have the least access. So that's a real key focus for the programme itself. I'll leave it there, and I'm happy to take it a bit further later on. Shall I pick somebody else? Okay, let's head over to Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Will. Hi, everyone. I'm Heather, and I'm the lead for Walk Derbyshire. So probably pretty similar to Walk Knots. It's around influencing system and policy change through insight. Again, in the places what need us the most, but also I oversee our accredited lead walk programme in Derbyshire, and I do cover a little bit around Derby and what they do, and they link into the Ramblers Wellbeing Walks. So quite a large scope, but very interesting. And I think there's something that I would like to talk about today, which is about Ukrainian people. So just don't let me forget.
That's quite random and out of the blue, but I like it.
There's a reason. Yeah.
Go on, choose the next person to introduce.
Suzanne.
Thank you. So I work for RISE, which is the active partnership covering Northumberland, Tyne and Wear and County Durham. So it's quite an expansive an area. And my role is the infrastructure and environment strategic lead. And within that role, I have a focus around active travel, which obviously includes walking. And like a couple of previous people, we've been doing a lot in the last month for Walk a Month, but in place because we're funded by Sport England to work in place. So maybe later on we'll pick up on some of the things that we've done in place. And I'll pass on to Liz.
Hi guys, thanks Suzanne. Good to be here. So yeah, Liz Nelstrop, I lead for walking for the National Trust, and we have a number of different projects and programs that we look after, from our own group walks through to community walks and projects, to special funded projects, where we're working with those people that face them, like you all, the greatest barriers for walking. Most of our work is supported by Sport England and also corporate partners like Cotswold Outdoor. I also look after digital information in the outdoors, so helping really improve digital access, which we think is a key part to getting people outside and enjoying the natural environment. And I'm really interested in any projects where we can connect our properties and places with your work, and to our property champions on the ground. We've also just done Walking Month, and we had, I think, over 400 walks across the country, from our new kind of volunteer walking product, and just really interested in connecting in with your work. And that's at a kind of regional and county level. At a national level, I'm really interested in projects where we can combine around funding or around kind of system change, essentially. So yeah, really good to be here, and yeah, look forward to hearing more about what you're up to.
Brilliant. Right, who wants to share first? Oh, hang on, Matt, have you introduced yourself?
No, hi. So I'm Matt. I run Walking Pace. We celebrate walking in all its forms, no matter how high, how fast, how technical, or otherwise. I also, one of the main programs from that is 1 mile walks. So we promote walks of about a mile, and that's really in response to much of the outdoor and walking arena being around longer, harder, faster. So this is recognizing that there are many people for whom even short walks are too long. So we're promoting walks for about a mile. I also look at using 1 mile walk as an access to test innovation in access. And I shared something last meeting. I've been working on that, which I can talk about later. Deploying that across a 600-acre charity-led estate. Their aim is to increase their accessibility across their entire site. So I've been using that model to look at where they are now and where they might want to make improvements. And apart from that, I'm refreshing the entire suite of the Youth Hostel Association walks. So 200 shiny new walks should be winging their way to people across the country over the next few months.
That sounds quite exciting.
Can I
Good.
pop in as well? I'm Sarah Davies from Walk Not in a Bluebell Wood. So yeah, obviously we're just doing all our capturing from the Walk Not Festival, reflecting, and then thinking about how to elevate that up and influence system change. Some of the things that we're kind of like thinking about progressing going forward are like active practices and trying to get healthcare on board with what we're doing. Active travel, sort of accessibility audits and neighbourhood scans coming out as quite important. Early years settings as well, trying to get those habits installed quite early on in life. Just a couple of things linking in with what a couple of you were saying. Liz, I'm working with some people that are trying to look at making parks and open spaces dementia friendly. So and Matt, I came across Sustrans the other day who are doing some work on 1 mile walks to stations in Bolsover.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah. Right, who wants to come in with their projects first? We've got the temptation of Ukraine. We've also got accessible walks that Matt's working on. So who wants to jump in and have a chat first?
I'm interested to hear about Ukraine.
Well, I don't really have any answers. I more have thoughts and queries really, because last week I went to what was called a Ukrainian support event over at County Hall in Matlock. So it was for Derbyshire County Council, and it was a bit of a marketplace event. And I've been to their marketplace events before, and they've always been rubbish is rude, but a bit kind of a damp squib. But I went to this one, and there was so many people there, Ukrainians from across the whole of Derby and Derbyshire, which I thought was really interesting because Matlock isn't the easiest place to get to for some people. And it takes me about an hour and 10 minutes to get there in a car. And loads of people from Ukraine were from where I was from. Some of them knew me from the cheese and wine shop. So that's how that's how localized it was. But what I did get from them, what I recognised from the event was that there was a lot of women, obviously, and a lot of children, not many men. A lot of them have moved around a little bit because they had a host family and then they've found somewhere else to go. But almost all of them really want to get involved in their community in some way, either through supporting people, activity, or through work. And none of them knew how to do it. So they really struggled to say, well, this is, how do I find what's going on where I live? So this event was a little bit around that. But what the bit that got me was how much they all want to get involved, which I think because the Ukrainian, they've come here not expecting to become here, so they've come here completely out of their own choice. And then they are here, and we don't know if they'll ever go home, and we don't know what it would be like if they go home, and we don't know if their partners, or who they may or may not have, will ever come over or are still alive, and all that sort of stuff. So I thought, and it's really hard for them to kind of get some sort of long-term view as to what they want to do when everything's so up in the air. So what I wanted to know from you guys really is, because it had never crossed my mind before until this event, do you have anything specific to support Ukrainian people? Do you have a centre? Do you have activities? Do you have a Ukrainian-led anythings? Because I don't think that we do. Liz?
Oh, did someone else go first?
Okay, go for it.
I just wanted to let you know about a piece of work that we have done with an organisation called the Mason Foundation. They're also funded by Sport England. They work with communities and set up locally organised walks, essentially, so people can become ambassadors, do their training, and they particularly work with people who are really disengaged from their local community, and that could be socio-economic or not. And we've done 8 pilots at properties across the trust, one of which was in Morden Hall in London, and the first group we worked with was Ukrainian women. So there's some interesting learning there. I can put you in touch with, I don't know if it's necessarily our property link. I think it'd be better just to speak to a girl called Rosie Whitehead, who is the kind of ops manager for Mason Foundation, and they run something called the Community Mile. And the way it's done is very much developed by and for communities, so they're able to co-create. And I think some of the groups just want to do yoga, or they want to do crafting, and we provide the free space, the National Trust space, or some of them want to create walks. So they recruit ambassadors from within the community who get the kind of training, and then they encourage because then they have the language. Often the people that come forward are, say, more confident around English, so they then translate, or they can be more supportive to their friends who are less confident, either socially or in terms of language. And that program gets supported for 6 months, so they kind of get paid and supported. Now, obviously, you guys probably run similar things, but it just, in terms of learning, I can put you in touch with Rosie from that particular project. And I think they've got sort of regional ambassadors who might have set that program up, who would again be able to give you that more on the ground, particularly working with that community, with the Ukrainian women's community. So I can just put you in touch if that's useful.
Yes, please. That would be really good, because there was one lady there who was really keen to do something. So I took her details, because I was like, there's so many things that I could do, but it's going to be up to you. And then I thought, but I don't really know what's out there, particularly for Ukrainian women. So yes, that'd be good. And maybe me and her can have a little chat about where we might go. That's really
absolutely.
helpful.
And I think you could organise it or support them to organise it. Or you could see what the Mason Foundation, what they say, but even taking the learnings could be really helpful. I mean, we'll all have this experience, but so much of it is about being led by the community, so listening. So many of the projects that we're working on at the moment, we spend a good few weeks listening, months sometimes, and understanding before we do anything at all. So that would be my other piece of when it works, it's because there's that trust, so much trust.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks for that, Liz. Matt, have you got something as well?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely echo what Liz said there about the community development approach. But in terms of people who are doing this work, not walking based, but there's an organisation called Face Work in East London, or South East London. Face.work is their website, and they started as an employability program for young people, and also a shared workspace. It's a kick, and what they're trying to do is provide a community hub where people can come, work. They can also hold events, and they have a very robust and evidence-based education program, which initially was started with young people, but what they found more and more, and they met through their London base, were more refugees, particularly Afghan, Ukrainian refugees. So they started to deploy this program with refugees, and it also looks at entrepreneurial skills, it looks at employability skills, it looks at community development activities. So I can put you in touch with Stephen Carrick-Davies, who is the head of that, the mastermind behind it, is one of the serial kind of social entrepreneur. He's amazing. So they can put you in the right direction. And also, I would encourage you perhaps to talk to your local Red Cross and see what they're doing. So I remember from my days back in the Red Cross doing community development there, they often have quite a few outreach programs that respond to local needs. So yeah, absolutely, get in touch with us. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll put you in touch with Steve.
Yeah, that'd be fab. Thanks, Matt. I think I was surprised by how many people there were in Derbyshire, and when I spoke to them, there were more in some of our more rural places. So I just thought it was really interesting. And we also know that safety is a huge issue for people being active, and so many of them being women, and their support group is women. I just thought there's something there, and how do we support them a bit better? So thank you both for that.
Something that we found in Nottingham as well, because we've got the Refugee Forum in Nottingham. There's also the Ukrainian Cultural Centre as well, but I haven't had much to do with them yet. But the Refugee Forum has found that actually people coming into the UK from outside, especially when they're coming in as refugees, will automatically feel unsafe when they're going out in the streets, because they've come from a place that is, or possibly was, unsafe. And that translation of the safety around them is quite different when they get into the area that they're in. So actually, where people who have lived there all the time will go out and go to the shops and things like that, they'll take a lot more time to consider that journey and go out into their environment. So it does create real barriers for them. And although if they go with host families first, some of them will get them out in the communities and getting used to that environment, but some of them won't, and some of them just sort of stay in rooms and things like that. And it's creating those links into the environment around them is really, really important. And getting out walking is a great way to do that, isn't it? And finding that space.
I was talking to an occupational therapist about it afterwards, and she basically was saying this is their bread and butter. So somebody who used to live in Ukraine and that was where their life was, and if they were active and did either a walk or a run regularly, but then they come here and they don't do it, it's because that walk or that running that was in the place that they loved and they knew and they felt like it was home, and it's not the same here. So even though there running or walking might have been their life, it's so totally different here. So it just takes much more time and behaviour change really to get back into doing that, and the safety thing is huge, isn't it?
Sorry, just on that, sorry, before, one of the cultural issues is that a black man running through London is often not seen as a person out for leisure. So in terms of the safety, people are suspicious of black and minority ethnic people running, and they become victims of violence as a result of that. Some of the feedback that we receive from communities who we are trying to engage people in sports, so that they would have to wear the full gear to kind of identify themselves as out for a run. Yeah.
Will, do you want to come in?
Yeah, sorry, I just had to take a quick call, so I may have missed something, but just I haven't got contacts as such to send you, Heather, but just to say that there are a number of partners that have run refugee, not necessarily Ukraine specific, but refugee walks across the different Wellbeing Walks partnerships. Some really, really successful, and some have had the challenges, and something was alluded to there around safety is a particular challenge for a lot of them, where they've been really keen to set a walk up, but unfortunately have been targeted as a result of it as a group. So just to sort of watch this space really, and ensure if it is something you are looking to set up, just to have the right support around the group, just to make sure they're all okay. Some have obviously struggled to integrate into existing what we class as like open group walks for anybody, because they want something for their community, like you were just saying there, to feel that sense of connectivity with other people and similar-minded people. But by creating that sort of community group can have its own challenges as well. So there's definitely loads of success stories out there. Mole Valley in particular is one that's been really successful for us. And Chester as well have had some really good success stories. But yeah, there's just a watch out really, and a careful when you're looking to set these things up.
Well, thanks, Will.
I've just got one other thing to flag is the This Girl Can campaign launches in June, and it's This Girl Can, it's their Let's Get Out There Here or Get Out There campaign. It runs over the summer, and it highlights a lot of women-only spaces for outdoor activities. So I've just had a look, their new stuff hasn't gone up, but we're one of the partners. I think there's forestry and canal and rivers and all sorts of that, and there are various women's only walking groups or mother and baby groups, etc. But I really hear that piece around wanting your own community, and therefore this feels like an empowerment piece of supporting them to create their own, which is what Mason Foundation found, is that is the most sustainable way, is support them to create their own walks or activities, and then support them to make that sustainable. But
yeah, that's brilliant. So a lot of them were asking, is there a group near me? So I could sign the person to the group, so that wasn't a problem. But then the next question was, are there any Ukrainian people in that group? And mostly my answer is I don't know, because I don't. So it's kind of, it's difficult, isn't it? So it was clear that they did want whether they wanted an only Ukrainian group or if they wanted other Ukrainians, which is understandable. That's the bit. So yeah, I do think it's some work to do.
Where are they based?
All over
Derbyshire.
The particular ones I spoke to were from High Peak, Chesterfield, and Matlock.
Because we do a lot. So some of our work in the Peaks is where we've empowered Muslim groups. So it's not this, it's sort of the same in terms of obviously we work with Muslim hikers, but we're now beyond that. Our properties are working very much with local Muslim communities from the learning we've had from working directly with Muslim hikers. And one of the things I could do, if you're interested, is they could work with a property. So our properties are very good at this. They do a lot of working with very specific communities, helping them set up a group walk. And they need to become an NT volunteer, obviously. But it'd be the same with Ramblers, wouldn't it? Well, you could become a whatever. But it's very gentle, I think, and can be on a National Trust property. It's supported by the team there. There's facilities, there's toilets, there's I was wondering whether linking them up with I don't know which they're all over Derbyshire, but so any of our properties, we've got some brilliant volunteering community leads, specialists in Derbyshire. So that's the other way.
Well, you and I have a little chat about it.
Yeah,
see what we can...
you're welcome. I can put you in
that'd
touch with property teams because they potentially, and we can see, because what we're doing at the moment is in a way encouraging more diverse volunteers just to come and become an NT volunteer, but then they can set up what they want essentially, and they just get our insurance and a bit of training. So that's the other way.
Just thinking, Heather, in terms of the knowing about other Ukrainians, I seem to remember a couple of years ago when we were supporting groups with the Together Fund in Newark and Sherwood, that it was somebody from the council because they were helping to house them.
Yeah, this was a lady from the council, but she didn't. So she was great. She was really good, and I've asked her if I can help her to develop the next one together because they have them every year. But there were certain things that I kind of thought she didn't know about that I did, which is probably why it'd be good if me and her did it together. But yeah, I think I will go to her as well to get some of these details. And I think she's Polish as well. Not Polish, Ukrainian. So it's a Ukrainian girl who works for Derbyshire County Council, who I thought was Irish.
Focusing on that. I don't know what to say to that, really.
I was like, where are you from? Thinking she was from Ireland. She was like, Ukraine. I mean, I'm running this event. Yeah, first foot in it moment.
So have you got what you need to out of that, do you think?
Yeah, I think
Brilliant.
so. It's been on my mind a lot since last Thursday, so yeah, definitely.
Amazing.
Sorry, one last thing to add is GM Walking, so Greater Manchester Walking.
Oh yeah.
Do you know them? Obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the name of the lady? Forgotten. But I can look her up. Because they're doing loads.
Naomi?
Does someone else know her?
Yeah, we've got. It's the girl, and I always forget her last name. And her first one's gone off.
Me?
No, the other one that does the workforce support.
I'm just looking her up now. But I'll put it in the chat. Keep going. Because they're doing a lot.
I think it's Louise Robbins.
Yeah, Louise Robbins, and there's someone else who just chat about yourselves. I will.
Carol Pollard.
Carol, that's it.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
that's the one. Do you know her?
Oh yes, I will. I'll make contact with her as well then.
Because they're doing a lot, and they've just done, not just, but in the last. I haven't spoken to Carol for about a year, but prior to that, she told me about how they were funding 90 different community organisations around, and quite a lot were around refugees, to go walking. And one of the questions for us was exactly that: how do we get them out of Manchester and into the countryside, and can you support etc. National Trust sort of safe places? So they're definitely doing this kind of work, and probably have some really good blueprints again that you could, or she could tap you into that network.
Yeah, brilliant. Or some of the people I was speaking to might want to get involved in the stuff she's doing, so that'd be great. Either way, yeah,
exactly. Real. Super.
Fab. Thanks, Liz.
Right,
I'm going to press mute now.
who else has got some exciting things that they've been up to in the last couple of months that they want to bring to the table? Matt, Will, Matt.
Yeah. You go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Matt. I was just going to touch on, if we've got time at the end, just to talk about the dreaded word data and impact. That's been our key focus. But happy to touch on at the end, or maybe the next time if needed. Go ahead, Matt.
Thanks, Will. I mean, just to update on what I sort of threw at the meeting last time around the mapping of accessible paths. I've been refining the criteria, so building on the kind of the miles and that styles, accessible for all, for some, for many, challenging, and not accessible. Looking at the criteria about what would make paths fit into each of those categories, and it's come down to 4 main areas around surface, gradient, width, and crossfall, and then the impact of any features such as narrow gates and that kind of thing. And I've been commissioned over the last month to look at an estate locally. So it's run by a charity. They want to become more accessible. They've been focused on forestry, but now they want more people to use their site. And I'll just flash up where we are so far. I mean, it's 600 acres, so it's taken a while to walk around it, especially when it's covered in fallen trees. I'm sure they won't mind me sharing this with you. I mean, so this is, you can see the border of the site here, and they've worked already on creating a few trails which are to a greater or lesser degree reasonably accessible. And it's quite a steep place. So what we've got here is the main locality here, and then so you can see the key at the top, for all, for many, for some, challenging and not accessible. And the challenging really kind of came from working with Debbie North, and she's saying, you know, I don't really mind what a path is like as long as I can get my rain hopper through a gap. The train is neither here nor there because this machine's amazing. And so it's about challenging perspectives on what is possible for wheelchair users. But equally, there's a lot of people who don't use wheelchairs who wouldn't be able to manage the terrain that some of those wheelchairs can. So it's a balance between, you know, how much do we say to this site, actually, yeah, you should make all your paths completely clear of loose material, versus actually just get a whole bunch of trampers or terrain hoppers and you know, widen the gates and pretty much the whole site will open up. So that's kind of where I am with this debate at the moment. And if the idea of this is to basically map a site, and then you can filter on and off, so we can look at all the things that are challenging, or we can say, okay, these are all the non-accessible places that we might want to address. Or if we're looking for a route that's accessible for many people, oh dear, we may have to do some work if we want to get to that particular audience. And then when you click on these, you get sort of the write-up, and you get some pictures, and you get all sorts of things. So it's kind of a planning tool as well. You can see exactly what you're dealing with. So it's part an access tool. It's partly a planning tool for the site. But that's just to update you on where that's going. So it has some kind of real world. I mean, I tested it on some of my routes and it was working fine. It's now had some real robust testing and a very practical application about, you know, with the purpose of improving access to an entire site, and it's throwing up some really interesting issues for the trustees to deal with. And one of those is the cost of fixing all your paths versus actually a couple of trampers. You probably make it, you know, as accessible, but then where do you cut off for people who walk but don't walk with as much confidence as other people? The other issue we're having, and this will be interesting to get your take, if anyone's got experience of it, is access versus forestry. So we spend all this time building lovely paths, and then once a year, someone rolls in with some massive machinery and digs grooves through everything. and the paths are almost impassable for everybody. So I think the question I think is do we separate people from paths? Do we fix the paths after the work, or do we build stronger paths that can take the machinery? So it's some interesting questions about overhauling a site. I love your views.
I went to what I considered a really accessible wellbeing walk a few weeks ago, and I was quite surprised because as I turned up, a lady had come to the wellbeing walk and she was using a rollator, and she'd been attending the walks for a little while, but the paths had got slightly more undulating, so they got slightly more gravelly, to the point where her rollator was just, there was too much feedback, too much vibration for her to then continue going on the walks. And it's something that I hadn't really thought about, because my brain often goes to walking, wheeling, wheelchairs, things like that, and walking with sticks. But the rollators really do, especially some of the ones that haven't got any sort of more better tech suspension or anything like that on them, they have some serious feedback to them. And slightly more elderly, slightly more less sure-footed, and it was just completely impassable for us. So it's really interesting how you're grading those different paths, because on the photos they are probably slightly worse than the path that she was walking on, and was obviously really struggling with that. So it really is that sort of individual, whether or not they can or can't go round somewhere.
I think what I'm trying to do is create a bit more of a shorthand, because when looking at providing access information for paths and for walks, I've ended up with over 100 points of data. And if you're doing a 1 mile walk where fundamentally you're saying park at the car park and follow the green arrows until you get back to the car park, there's an awful lot of data to go through for something that is, for many people, relatively simple. But if there's one piece of information in there that is what you need, because I don't know, you don't have the strength to open a gate over 5 kilograms, or you have a chair that won't get through a certain gap, or you can't traverse a really bumpy bit of terrain, then that's important for you. And the question I'm sort of still grappling with is how do we make that potentially huge data sets available to people who need it, but they can drill down to the bit that they specifically need and kind of ignore the rest and not be overwhelmed by the rest of it.
It sounds like keeping it updated is going to be quite hard work as well, if you've got an active forestry environment where you have those sort of people coming in and disturbing what would be those routes.
Yeah, and I think that's the same for public footpaths. I mean, they changed from week to week, don't they? But I'm not sure that's a reason not to start, but it's certainly a consideration for where we go forward. And I think maybe crowdsourcing might be a way forward. Yes.
Sorry, I'm on mute. It's a very timely bit of work because we have a project called our Paths and Trails programme, where we're essentially doing what you're doing, but trying to do it across the whole trust. And we've had exactly the same thing. So I think we've identified 80 attributes that you could ways to describe a path or a trail. We talk about a path as the physical thing on the ground. A trail is a curated concept. That's how we talk about it, although there's obviously debate around that. So a trail would be a curated concept over a series of different paths, if that makes sense, whereas the paths are like what's on the ground. And we have a team doing this at the moment. We also are looking at how you could share that data more effectively. I'd really love to put you in touch with our project lead on the navigation and signage part of that, which is where we're looking at grading. And we've come to a very similar conclusion, which is on the one hand, it would be brilliant to have grading, and I think of it as if you think about like food packaging. You know, we all understand red, orange, green, like is a food healthy or not, and we understand ski root, you know, don't we? Blue, red, black, root, etc. Wouldn't it be great if we could have kind of an accessibility set of grading, or even just grading that goes all the way through from, you know, right up to adventurous, kind of no path at all, that is consistent across the nation and that everybody understands. And that would be our dream ambition. And we're talking to a lot of partners about that and begun those conversations, but it's quite hard and it's quite far off. But the person leading that bit of work is called Taz Hansford. Have you connected with her?
Yeah, I know.
Do you know
Taz, yeah.
Yeah.
So while since you spoke of it, so it'd be good to catch up.
Yeah, so Taz Hansford is leading that, and the other person is Olivia Ragone, Ragone, also National Trust. She's our GIS and data officer on this programme of work, and she and her team are kind of wrestling with the whole data gathering attributes. They're putting it onto OpenStreetMap and then thinking about how we draw it in and use it, etc., etc. So there's a lot in that space, and I think it would be really interesting. Like they could share quite a lot probably with you, and probably also learn from you. It feels like we're just learning too, like, but coming to the same conclusions. Is that people just need the right information to decide if a trail's for them, basically. Although other people do really need grading, and it's really hard to give enough information without it being, as you say, 100 points of data on a web page, versus like a grading that then doesn't have enough detail. So how do you? And what we've realised is a lot of it is around communication. It's around the digital infrastructure and the kind of thinking about how you communicate it. And you still need the data set. The other thing that Laura, you raised is updating that and keeping it up to date is so hard when it's such a changing landscape, and the weather and path use and path ownership and all those things. But we're looking at some ways of doing that too. But yeah, try and connect you in.
Well, that'd be great. I mean, it's I think the updating piece is key, and the actual time it takes to collect the information. And I spent a day last week climbing over fallen trees, trying to measure a gradient to a path that doesn't exist. So that, if at some point in the future the trust decided to put a path down there, we know how steep it was.
So we've struggled. We've got 4 or 5 data officers. That's all they're doing. They've recruited like temporary data officers, and they're doing a lot of it desk-based, and then they're also going out on the ground. But of course, there's rangers and local people who can really massively help with it. But I think it might be a citizen science piece. It could be a really interesting thing around volunteering and citizen science or something. I don't know. That's kind of in the side of my mind.
Well, that's where I want to take 1 mile walk. So I mean, I've made it so that people can send a 1 mile walk in, and it can be a scribble on a page, it can be a GPX, and it will go on the site. That's taken to the back burner, but there's a few on there, and then it will go on as not verified, and then it requires somebody else to come along and say, yeah, that walk exists. And then there's another level of data. So there's kind of summary access data. So is there a toilet? Is there public transport? And then there's the other level of data, which is the super detailed. What does the path look like? How wide is the gate? It strangely looks at the set of luggage scales tugging at a gate to see how much force it requires to open it. That sort of level of detail.
So we've divided it into 3 levels. So we've got a super detail, like you're talking about, which is the physical detail, like the attributes. And then we've got what does a ranger and maintenance need to know. So it's like a kind of another layer of detail around maintaining, protecting, caring for it, which isn't quite as detailed, but it's enough. And then it's what does the end user, what's the content that the end user sees, and that filters up. So for each meter of path or mile of path, we'll have 3 data sets essentially of the actual detail, the physical and then descriptors and kind of maintenance level information a bit more, and then what does the consumer get, which could be based on loads of points of data, 20 or 30 points of data, but actually they're getting a green colour, you know, a tab on a website and a simple description and a guarantee that any wheeled transport would get through, kind of thing, or something like that. But it's so hard to categorise, so we'd probably love to have your thoughts too.
That'd be great. And I think the other side of it is because my vision, I mean, it's just me, it's quite hard, but was to create this network of data, and the map that I showed you goes bigger than that. With the idea being that if there was a sort of a red section of path that was blocking off a green section of path, well, then you could go and talk to someone and say, hey, it won't take much to open up this entire countryside.
Yeah, exactly.
To a whole bunch of people. So it's a partly an advocacy tool, it's partly a planning tool, it's partly an information tool. But without the data is king at the moment, I think. Yeah, and I guess there's always a chance for overthinking it. Which at some point we probably need to look at and someone actually, we've gone too far. If it's really this hard to maintain, is it too much? At the moment, I'd like to see where this would take us, and it sounds like you're doing the same.
Similar, yeah, but we're still, it's very much a new journey too for us. So yeah, I'll definitely try and connect you in.
Great. Thank you.
I think that leads us absolutely fantastically into data. Will, did you want to?
I'll really try not to bore you anymore too much with my data question, which is much less, or maybe it is just as exciting. But I'm still in awe of Liz. You've got 4 or 5 data officers in your team. I mean, I'm so jealous. I wish
no,
we
these
had
are
that.
just GIS. Well,
oh, okay.
So we are also completely wrestling with the kind of social impact KPIs, like how do we measure the impact of the work we're doing? So I'm really interested in this. Like we have nothing to bring. I'm totally
That's
want
okay.
to learn
That's
from
okay.
you.
I'll just let everybody know where we're at in terms of the Ramblers and really showcasing, like you say, that the social impact of our walks across different partners. We're really at the point where we want to grow as a partnership across England and Wales, but to do that at scale, we really need national funding, and to do that, big partners want to know where that every pound and penny is going and how they're really affecting those that need it. So for us, we're really grappling with, or have been grappling for many years, and are starting to make lots of progress on this around making a simple program for partnerships to come and use, access short walks, get easy training, but also being able to get some of that data back in, and in one format. I think the nature of us working across different sectors, third sectors, public sector, private sectors, is that everybody does things differently and collects data in different ways. So we've got a pilot project going on at the moment with Trust Impact, where we're starting to look at the key thing is how we collect that data in from partners. So I'm talking about it might be participatory data about, how many people come on walks, how many walks happened. We're also talking about demographic data, so where these walkers might be coming from, where the walks are happening, but also then on that third tier is, how do we understand the health journey of these people? And that's the really exciting bit for us, is to go, well, you know what, this person joined our walk at X time, we followed it up, and we can see they feel much better about their health and well-being now after 6 months of coming on to a walk. They feel much more connected to nature than they did previously. They're maybe feeling less lonely as they were previously. So that's really, really powerful data for us. And we're on this journey at the moment where we're sort of scoping out what those tools might look like, how we might collect that data. And I'm just wondering, as a starter for 10 really is to whether anybody else that's running walking programs really does this sort of surveys your walkers on a regular basis, and if you do, is it snapshot surveys? Do you do follow-up surveys, so you're trying to track those individual journeys of people that are coming on your walks? Thanks, Georgina.
Yeah, we do surveys. We do so every walker who opts in, once they register for a health walk, we ask them 4 questions. Would they like to take part in a health survey? Are they happy for us to communicate with them? Would they like to take part in an annual evaluation? And then, of course, the one that they can't say no to is, you know, they're medically fit, walk at their own risk, blah, blah, blah. So if they've opted into surveys, we send them 1 health survey a year, and it asks about long-term health conditions, how walking improves it, and so on. And it's completely anonymous. And then the same with the evaluation, and that's once a year, completely anonymous. So we've got to the stage now, sort of a couple of years in, where we can start comparing data, but it's tricky because it's anonymous data. So we're sending it to the same cohort of people, and the same cohort of people a year on, but we don't know if the same cohort of people are actually answering it. So we're doing the best we can with the data. We did want to sort of ask about health conditions and so on before they started walking, but with GDPR and so on, we didn't, it wasn't allowed. So it's very much, you know, sort of voluntary of what they're willing to do. Our impact and learning manager's been on maternity leave, how dare she? But she's back, yay, because she's really, really good with all the data. And I've got a meeting with her in a few weeks' time, and we are going to try and pull up a comparison with the evaluation data. We've got some lovely videos, impact stories, so we know it's making a difference. But it's hard. Is that the sort of thing you were thinking?
Yeah, no, that's great, Georgina. And I think, yeah, we're in a similar position where anecdotally, you know, we can talk really well about the impact of our walks, and we can get some great case studies and videos out there. It's that hard data that is a real struggle, isn't it? And yeah. I think it's got so much potential. I see you know, it's great that you've got some data in, but with it being anonymous, it's really tricky to see the true impact of walks, or you know, I guess seeing the full impact of the walks. I think it's the biggest thing, without having to be able to truly say you're making it, you know, a real difference to these people, directly through the walks, if that makes sense. So yeah, but thank you for that, Heather.
I think it's a work in progress. I think it's just a continuation thing.
I think on our side, similar to both of your struggles, really. So we've got 8 different districts and boroughs who all collect data in different ways. But I literally had our accreditation, because we've got an accredited led walk program. I had my accreditation meeting yesterday, so I've got all the data to hand. And what they do is they count, a bit like you really, so how many people have been trained, what the demographic is, are they social prescribers, are they from adult education, all that sort of stuff. And then they do stories of impact. And I sometimes think actually stories of impact are much, you can have some random numbers, but stories of impact are better than your numbers anyway. So we had one recently, which was a woman who'd set up a walking group. She did an animated video with us and talked through it. It's been shared with Sport England. It's been shared with We're Undefeatable, and I think it's going to be really impactful. So those sort of things I kind of find much more, people take more notice to a story that's got heart than a bit of data. So when our accreditors ask me for stuff, I say, well, I've got numbers, but here's our stories of impact, and I'm trying to make them more interested in the stories of impact than the numbers, because they're all so different. It's really hard to collate what they are. But the numbers also do show that more people are getting involved, and there's a huge demographic, so it's useful as well at the same time. But I think what I was going to say to you, Will, is that so our walk, to get some of that information, your walk leaders will know those people quite well, so they might know people who want to share a journey with you, and do some of that.
Great, thanks. Yeah, Heather, I totally agree. And I think it's a mix, isn't it? You want those stories, but you want, like you said, you want the data to sort of back up those stories as well. And that's what's really powerful, isn't it? Thank you, Liz.
So yes, we wrestle, as we say, with all of this. We have been doing some work in this area. What I suppose the biggest thing for us was getting really clear on what metrics we needed and why. So our why was super important. Like, is it just about health? Is it about participation and awareness? Is it about you know, the impact on volunteers and training just as much, and on community cohesion as much as it is on the individual? What is it about? And that we had to do a lot of work really thinking about that. And I know what you mean, because you're answerable to sort of different funders and they want different kind of metrics. And then if you said it's like, you know, it's health walks or wellbeing walks, and you know, it's all the wellbeing scales, isn't it? The where, I can't remember what they are, but do you know, what are they called? The different frameworks. Hang on a minute. The Warwick Edinburgh, is it? Loneliness scale, self-rated health. So there's things that are standards, and then you can compare against norms, like nationally as well. But yeah, I think the why, I don't know. Yeah, tell me more about what is it around physical health, well-being, connection? I don't know.
I mean, for us personally, oh, sorry, I can see some people are got to go. So, I mean, just really quickly, for us personally, from our perspective, this is purely about exposing that the walks are affecting those that we really want them to affect, those that have the most barriers to getting outdoors. And we really want to showcase that is the key target, and that our walks are achieving that impact. So there's that health benefit, but the other reason for collecting is to be able to obviously showcase that and attract that funding. That is the primary focus for us at the moment, because we know with additional funding we're able to scale this up and give more walking opportunities for more people. It's you know, that's quite a blunt way of putting it, but for us that's really key for us, because we've got the anecdotal stuff, we've got the case stories and the videos, and we're able to get lots more of those. It's having that data to back up what we're trying to achieve, and that it is achieving, you know, it's not people that are already active being more active. It's really hitting those that are either not active or, you know, don't have those opportunities locally, or a lack of opportunities locally. So you're absolutely right, and I think we've been in touch with you guys around some of the questioning at National Trust as well. I know Becky's been in touch. Don't know whether it's you directly, Liz, but she's been in touch with some of your team around what those questions might be. So I think we fed into some of what questions you're using at some of your estates as well.
Probably, yeah. I'm sure. Let's talk more, well, because I mean, we've got a really basic tool that I get every property and every walk to use, which has all the details, as many details as I can get, of like the type of walk, who it's for, participants, who's leading it, observations, learnings, etc. I mean, we try and get as much detail as we can, and then we have participant surveys, which are kind of a QR code. We have all sorts of evaluation around process and projects and all of that, which I'm sure you do anyway. But yeah, I'm happy to share anything we've got. I don't think it's any more clever. I know that the National Trust at the centre is trying to work out some really good social impact KPIs, and when that comes out, that'll be helpful. I mean, we all need it. All of my projects need it. So yeah, we can share.
But very quickly for me, I mean, impact assessment is one of my previous background roles, and for me, the key, not specific to walking, but the key for me is getting the good theory of change, getting a theory of change right, and I liken a theory of change to a bet. Sort of, we bet if we do this, this will happen, and making sure that you then can have that follow through for all of your participants, all of your activities, segmenting your audiences, recognizing that some people are ready to access your service right now. Some people will need some work in order to get them to the point where they would access your services, and they would need a different theory of change. And then once you've got a robust theory of change, ask the questions, well, how do we know? How can we prove this? And you almost need a huge, not just a glib top-line strategy theory of change. It needs to be the nuts and bolts. The research tells us that if we do X, Y, and Z activity, it will have benefits in this way. And we believe that because of these bits of evidence over here. And then, are we doing what we expected we'd be able to do? And how can we prove we're doing that? And then that will then lead you to data, but it'll also lead you to studies that you may need to do. And data from every person isn't necessarily going to give you the information you want, but what you can have is strong, in-depth research. You can extrapolate and say, well, actually, it's the same thing for a range of other people, and we believe, therefore, we will have a wider impact across our suite of activities and across our range of participants. So for me, it is that theory of change. Get it evidence-based, get it robust, know what you're expecting your outputs to be, your outcomes to be, and then finding suitable data analysis. And then you can also look for unexpected consequences and things you weren't expecting, but without that robust, what's our bet? You'll just be asking information that will be nice to know, but not necessarily drill down to the nub of what you really want to know.
Thanks, Matt. Sorry, I know I've took everybody over time. I've got to shoot off as well.
Thank you so much. It's been another really, really interesting conversation. It's been lovely. We'll get another one booked in, probably a similar distance from the last one. I can't remember how many weeks we did, but I'll have a look and get it sorted. And yeah, absolutely wonderful to see you all.
Thank you, everyone. It was good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Laura.
That's been
Sure.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.